because obviously you need to be looking at the questions to annotate them, or how you annotated them, and then you also need to have your notebook with your work in it. Alright, when I call your name, please say here. Leo, Aiden, Gemma, Delilah, Emmeline, Elisa, Kylie, Kyra, Cooper, Cristiano, Emma, Troy, Mikael, Ronnie, Mila, Zoe, William, Noah, Camden, Olivia, Jonathan, Kaya, Isaac, Isabella. It's too late. It was due, technically it was due on Friday. And you had all day yesterday. That's when you send an email to me, be like, Skinny, I don't know how to upload this. All right. So what question would you like to go over? We'll start with that, and then any questions that I feel like it would be pertinent to review, we're going to review. So what question from this work do you guys want to go over? Gemma?
Number 5.
Number 5? Okay. Okay, so number 5 is kind of a weird one because it's what type of shape? The left.
Irregular?
It's irregular. So therefore we gotta put it into shapes that we what?
Understand.
That we understand. So a couple different ways that you guys can solve this problem. You can chop it here and here. You can chop it along here. Whichever way you decide, it doesn't matter. Okay? So for this one, I'm going to chop it there. So I have a rectangle, I have another rectangle, and I have a triangle. So what is the formula I'm going to be using for my rectangles? Someone other than Delilah. What's the formula we're going to be using for rectangles? Like, how do we, Aiden? So base times height, or length times width. And then for my triangle, Mila? So base times height divided by 2. All right, so for this top rectangle, I have one number, but I don't have my other number, right? So how do I go about figuring out what the length or the width or the height or whatever of my rectangle is? What do I have to do? What do I have to do? Do I just pick any number that's on there and do that? What do I have to do, Ronnie?
You have to cut it up.
We've already cut it up. So I'm looking for this side or this side. How do I find that side? This is a huge problem if nobody can tell me, because well, not everybody. There's about 20 of you who sent me some work yesterday, so I know you guys at least attempted it. It's okay if you didn't do it right, but this is why we're going over it today. Isabella.
Since you're having like 18, we can minus it by 14.
Yes. So I'm going to do 18 minus 14, which is going to give me 4. That is going to give me the height. So now do I have my 2 numbers I need to multiply to find the area of that top rectangle? Yeah, I'm going to do 22 times 4, which gives me what? Someone other than Delilah. What does that give me? Cristiano.
88.
So for this top one, it's 88 feet squared. So this area is 88 feet squared. All right, now, my triangle over here. I have no numbers for my triangle, which makes it a little bit difficult. But if it's equal to this line, what do I know about this part? What do I know about this part? Noah? The height is going to be 14, so I'm going to do 14. And then how do I figure out my base? Is it very similar to what Isabella told us to find our height? All right, so I'm going to take 11 and 5, and I'm going to add those two together. So what's 11 plus 5? 16. Does everybody understand why I'm doing 11 plus 5? Is there anybody who doesn't understand that? Okay, because remember, we got to find this part, right? We know the total length is 22, but we don't know what this part is. So we got to use 11 and 5 added together to take away from that 22 to find our whatever. So I'm going to do 22 minus, what do we say? 11 plus 5 was what?
16.
16. That gives me 6. So my base, or whatever you want to call it, of my triangle is going to be 6. So I'm going to do 14 times 6, which equals what? What's 14? Noah? 84, and then I'm going to divide that by 2. So what do I get when I do 84 divided by 2? And if you guys didn't do this, this is probably what you should be writing in your notebook right now, right? Troy, what's 84 divided by 2? 42. So that's 42 feet squared. So over here, 42 feet squared. So I have one total, I have another total. The last one I have to find is this little rectangle down here, right? So I have 14 and I have 5. I don't have to do anything with those numbers, right? So I'm just going to multiply them. So 14 times 5, what does that give me? It's 14 times 5. Noah? 70. So I have 70 feet squared. All right, so do I have the total of each one of my individual shapes that I made? All right, what do I have to do with 88, 70, and 42? Hallie?
Add them up.
Okay. All right, so what is 8 plus 2? 10. You guys can just call it out. What is 8 plus 7?
15.
Plus 4?
19.
Plus 1?
20.
So my answer to this question is 200 square feet. Okay. How did we do with that?
Okay.
How did we do? Those of you who did it, how did we do? Do you know where you messed up though? And this is why, guys, this is why it's so important for you to have your work. Because if you did make a mistake, compare. And is this the only way you could have cut this shape? No, we could have cut it here and made rectangle, trapezoid. All right, it doesn't matter, but you should still end up with the same answer, regardless of how you did it. But look at the information, look what we did, and compare it to what you did and see if you can find your mistake for it. Does that make sense? All right, what's another one y'all would like to go over? All right, Delilah?
Question 4.
Number 4. All right, number 4. This one says, Timmy's new logo for his surf club is pictured below with some of the dimensions. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. What is the area in square centimeters of the logo? Now, this one is hard, but it's not hard. Why does it look hard? So why does it look hard to us? Troy.
There's a lot of labels everywhere on every side.
I just didn't hear you, baby. Say it again.
There's a lot of labels.
Yeah. There's a ton of labels, right? So with problems like this, what I recommend is covering up and looking at one shape at a time. Because this is what kind of shape? It's irregular. And we know because it's irregular, we gotta chop it up into shapes that we do know. Haven't they already done that for us? they've already given us two triangles, one square and one rectangle. So let's start with the square because honestly, to me, the square is the easiest. So what do we do to find the area of this square? What's our formula? Camden.
8 times
Right. So we're going to do length times width, base times height. So over here for my square, I'm going to do 8 times 8, which is going to give me what? Camden?
64.
So 64. So this shape is 64 centimeters squared. All right? One down. Now, I'm going to look at this triangle. And the reason I'm looking at this triangle is because it's got numbers. I don't have to guess what numbers go where, right? So what's the formula to find the area of a triangle? If you're not sure, where in this room can you find that formula? Over there on the wall. So when you, hopefully we get to the test today. So when you start taking your test and you forget what the formula is for anything minus a trapezoid, you can walk over there and look at the wall. That is why it is there. Okay? All right, Emma.
Base times height divided by 2.
Okay, so I'm gonna do 8 times 9, which raise your hand and tell me what is 8 times 9? Troy?
72.
All right, and then I'm gonna divide 72 divided by 2, which is gonna give me what? Gemma?
36.
36. All right, so this is 36 centimeters squared. What do you notice about this triangle and this triangle? Troy?
They're the same.
Right, so do I have to do any work for that top triangle? Nope, because I already know it. All right, the last shape that we're looking at is this shape right here. All right, now what shape is that? A rectangle. So with it being a rectangle, what is our formula? What's our formula? Elisa, what's the formula to find the area of a rectangle?
Base times height.
Okay, so do I have my height? Yes, I do. So for my rectangle, my height is 8. Now, can I figure out my base? Looking at this information, can I figure out what my base is?
Yes.
What do I need to do? Leo, what do I need to do to figure out my base? Because I have an 8 down here and an 8 up here. I gotta find the whole, like, base. So what do I do with both of those 8s?
Multiply.
No. Nope. Because if this is part and this is part and I want to find the whole, what do I do with part to get a whole? So Leo, what is 8 plus 8?
16.
Yes. So you're going to do 8 times 16. Raise your hand once you have your answer for 8 times 16. Jonathan, what did you come up with? 128. So this is 128 centimeters squared. So do we now have all the information we need to find the total area? What do I need to do with these 4 numbers that are inside my shape? Isabel? Add them. So I'm going to do 128 plus 64 plus 36 plus 36. All right, stand up when you have your answer. All right, Zoe, what you come up with, sweetie? Yes, ma'am. Alright, so that should be your total answer. So, how many of you guys thought that this problem was really hard when you did it on Friday or yesterday? How many of you guys did the cover-up method of where you like covered up parts of the problem or picture on your screen? Okay. You can do that on your iPad. Like this is straight, I obviously printed this off. But this, guys, that's a strategy that I want you to use and you can use forever. Nobody can take it away from you. Just cover up the parts so that you're not looking at it as a whole crazy looking shape, but a simpler shape. Does that make sense? And you can do that on the EOG, you can do that on any test that you take because it's not cheating, it's just breaking it into things that you are more comfortable with. How many of you guys are super comfortable with squares? How many of you guys are super comfortable with rectangles? How many of you guys are so comfortable with triangles? But looking at one triangle, one rectangle, one square is much easier than looking at two triangles, rectangle, square. Okay, make it easy for y'all. All right, what else do we want to go over? All right, I want to go over this problem. All right, so it says if the area of triangle ABD is 12 square units, what is the area of the rectangle ABCD? So this is 12 units squared, correct? So what is the total area of this rectangle? Noah? How'd you figure it out? Right, because you know that these two are identical triangles, right?
Yeah.
So you can do 12, plus 12, which gives you 24. What else can you do, which is a little bit more complicated, but what else can you also do to solve this problem, Delilah?
12 times 2?
You can do 12 times 2, because again, you know, so that's going to give you 24. How many of you guys looked at it as, this is a triangle, and the formula is base times height divided by 2. So if I multiply this by 2, and I get 4 and 6, or 2 and 12, and you multiply 2 or 4 times 6. Nobody looked at it that way? Good, because that's the most complicated way. The easiest way is looking at it and saying, okay, well, it takes 2 triangles to make up 1 square rectangle, and we know the area of 1 triangle. We should be able to find the area of the rectangle by adding or multiplying. All right, let's look at this one. All right, the figure below is divided into 4 small squares. The sides of each small square is 6 centimeters long. What is the area in square centimeters of the entire figure? Well, again, if we cover up and we know that it's a square, this side is 6, so what do we know about this side? It's also going to be 6. And the formula to find the area of a square is what? Length times width, or base times height, whatever you want to do. So this is 36. What do I know about these other 3? They're all the same, so this is 36. And then you can do 36 plus 36 plus 36 plus 36. Or you can do 36 times what? 4. All right, what is our answer when we do that? Jonathan?
144.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys. How many of you guys use your answer choices to help you answer questions? All right, so if I do 6 times 4, I know that I get 24, right? What's the only answer over here that has a 4 in the ones place? No? D. So technically I know my answer before I even finish this problem, right? Okay. Now, obviously you must show your work on your test from now until the EOG, but that is definitely something that can help you when you're on the EOG to save time. Obviously, 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14. All right, let's look at this one.
Is that 10?
This is number 10, yes. All right, so number 10 says Cassie wants to paint the inside and outside of this square pyramid. So she wants to paint the inside and the outside. What is the surface area Cassie must paint? So what two formulas are we going to need to solve this problem? What two formulas? Just looking at our shapes only, because when you're finding surface area and they give you a net, I want you to look at it as what kind of shape? What kind of shape does this make? Excuse me, essentially. Emma?
Square pyramid.
No. This is a two-dimensional shape. What kind of shape is this? Camden? An irregular shape. So guys, how do we solve irregular shapes? Isabel? You cut them up, right? So technically, we have 4 triangles and 1 square. That is how I want you to look at the nets if you're given a net of a 3D shape. It's so much easier to look at it that way. Now, if you're given a 3D shape and you have to look at the sides as a 3D shape, then it gets a little bit more difficult. But all right, so we have a square and a triangle. What's my formula for a square? Aiden? All right, and then what is my formula for a triangle? All right. Which one do we want to start with? The square or the triangles? What do you guys, you tell me. What do we want to do? Mila. Square? All right, so Mila, if this side is 6, what do I know about this side? And this side? And this side. So it's all 6. So for my square, I'm going to do 6 times 6, which gives me what? 36. So this is 36 centimeters squared. That is the area for my square. Now, Mila just told me that all my sides of my square are 6, so therefore do I know my base and my height for my triangle? Yes, I do. All right, so I'm going to do 6 times 5 and 2/10. Well, what does that equal? I don't know because I can't do that vertically, horizontally, so I'm going to do it this way. So I end up with 31 and 2/10. Is that my answer? Why not? Raise your hand and tell me, why is that not my answer? Why is that not my answer? Isaac, why is 31 and 2/10 not my answer?
Because there's other triangles.
Well, there's other triangles, but what did I do for my triangle? What's my formula?
Base times height divided by 2.
Did I divide by 2? No, so be careful with that. So 31 and 2/10 divided by 2. All right, so the area for each one of these is 15 and 6/10 centimeters squared. Now what do I do? Because I found the area of all of my shapes, so now what do I do? Kaya, what do I do, sweetie? I found the area of all of these shapes. So what do I do with these 5 numbers? You said add them? Yes. All right, so 36. And then 4, 15, and 6/10. All right, stand up when you have your answer. Sorry, you can't see that now. All right, Christiana, what'd you get, baby? All right, so that's our answer, correct?
No, you need times it by 2.
You must times it by 2 because in the original problem it said what?
Surface area.
Nope.
Inside and outside.
Inside and outside. What do they do here, ladies and gentlemen? What do they do in your answer choices?
They put the answer that you get before you multiply by 2.
Yes, they do this, and it's funny because when I was making my answer sheet for this, I didn't read the directions very carefully, and I circled that as my original answer.
Oh, that's what I did too.
So I mean, even as a grown teacher who does this year after year after year, if you're not careful when you read your directions, you are going to get it wrong. This is not your answer. So now you have to take 98 4/10 and multiply it by 2. Then what do you get when you do that? You can just raise your hand. Camden.
196 and 8 tenths.
Yes, that is your answer. Let's go over one more, and then if you guys are good to go, then I'll let you go ahead and get started on your test today. Unless you guys have any other questions. All right, let's go to number 12. All right, so it says this shows the net of a right rectangular prism. How much wrapping paper would be needed to cover the entire rectangular prism? All right, so what is this made up of? What kind of shapes? What kind of shapes? Emmeline, what kind of shapes make up this shape?
Rectangles.
So how many formulas do I need?
1.
Just one. And what is that formula going to be?
Base times height equals area.
Okay, perfect. So we can do base times height or length times width, whichever one. So I'm just going to start at the top, and I'm going to use that same method of covering up everything except for one shape at a time. So what 2 numbers do we see for this top rectangle? What 2 numbers do we see? Gemma?
7 and 3.
All right, so I'm going to do for this one 7 times 3, which gives me what? 21. So this top one is going to be 21 centimeters squared. All right. Is there another shape that is exactly the same as that one? Mila, which one? So this one? This one? Yes. So this one is also 21 centimeters squared. So I don't have to do anything with it. Like, I know that those 2 are the same because if I could visualize folding that up, it's the front and the back. All right, next one I'm going to look at is this side one that's sticking out. What 2 numbers do we see that we're going to be using for the formula? Kaya. Okay, so I'm going to do 5 times 3. Kaya, what does that give me?
15.
So, yep, so this one is 15 centimeters. Kaya, do you see another shape that looks exactly like that one? Right, so this one right here. So again, I don't have to do a ton of work because I know that those 2 are the same. Now, this last one is a little bit more difficult because technically, you don't have any numbers, do you? But we have to use the characteristics of a rectangle. What do we know about the, what do we know about the opposite sides of a rectangle? Noah. They're equal. So Noah, if this side is 5, what do I know about this side? It's going to be 5. All right. And then Noah, if this side is 7, what do I know about this side? It's going to be 7 also. So then for this middle rectangle, I'm going to do 7 times 5. And what does that give me? Delilah? 35. So 35 centimeters squared. And then do I have another rectangle that's exactly the same? Obviously the only one that is left. So then what do I do with all of these areas of these individual shapes? Kylie?
Add them together.
All right, so you can add them together. You can multiply by 2.
Yeah, you could do the 15 times 2, 21 times 2, 35 times 2, and then add those together.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would think that'd be quicker.
Doesn't matter. There are, sorry, y'all cannot see anything. I'm writing down here, sorry. There are 3 different ways you can solve the rest of this problem. You can just add them straight up. You can add them and then multiply your total by 2. You can multiply the individual ones by 2 and then add those up. Whichever way works best for you, just raise your hand and tell me what is your final answer. No, what'd you come up with? 142. All right, are you guys sure there's nothing else you want to go over? You feel good? Ronnie? 14, you're not going to see anything like that on your test. But to just look at 14. So for A, because it says draw the net, making sure to label the sides. So remember, you're not using one side because she doesn't want to wrap the top. So you just draw your net and you find the total. Each side is 2. For B, it says use the figure you drew to determine how many square feet of wrapping paper Anna needs to cover the outside of the box, not including. So then you do 4 times 5. Why don't you do 4 times 6? Why do you not do 4 times 6? Right, so then it's 20 feet squared. And then the last one says, Anna also has a cube-shaped box with an edge length of 4 feet. How many times more wrapping paper would she need for this box, not including the top? So down here, I did 4 times 4 is 16. Again, multiplied it by 5 because we're not including the top, which gave me 80. So her original was 20, 80. What do you multiply 20 by to get 80? 4, so you would need 4 times as much. Okay? All right. If we are good, we'll go ahead and get started with our test today. Any other questions? No? We're good? Okay. Go ahead and close your notebooks. Put those to the side. Alright, I'm going to give you some paper to make sure that you guys show all of your work. You're going to SchoolNet. I've already put the code up there so you don't have to worry about that. Just go to SchoolNet, put in the code, and then please make sure as soon as you get some paper, if there's paper on your desk already, means that you need to put all of your stuff away minus your iPad and the paper I'm passing out. Here's some paper for you guys. Just throw it away. If it's not any of y'all, just throw it away. Alright, everything off of your table, go over your iPads and your paper and pencil. Here's some paper for you. Please make sure you check with me before you submit.
Can we go after we get with you?
What?
Can we go after we?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Once you have your paper, go ahead and get started.